This was taken from the Tucker Club website, and it is written as opinion by someone on it. And I quote, "Such a car today," and they're talking about the Convertible project, "would probably be most accurately described as a compilation car or an assembled car, because calling it a mule or prototype implies that it was a legitimately built Tucker, which most probably it wasn't. Perhaps we can call it a would've, could've, should've car." Could you please explain to me your opinion about the Tuckers that were finished just once again after the factory closed down?
Right, there were 14 cars that were sold at the auction in Chicago in October of 1950 that the factory never completed. These were in various stages. Motor transmission could be out of one, or the interior, no doors on one car, no front clip. Number 43, when it originally was sold, didn't have the engine or transmission in it. These cars were purchased by individuals and completed outside the factory. To me, they are not any different than number 57. No, number 57 wasn't as far along as these other cars. But for instance, when Ezra Schliff, who bought a number of incompleted cars and body shells, took number 54 and completed the car, less the fenders. He couldn't find fenders, so he finally made 4 out of fiberglass and completed the car. Was in the Pole Museum in Holland, Michigan for a number of years, and that car was sold, I believe it was $25,000 to Mr. DiLorenzo in Butler, New Jersey. The club considers that car a 51 car. When the factory closed, there was only 36 Tuckers completed, including the Tin Goose. There wasn't 51. But in all the publications, newspaper, magazine articles, they will have you believe that 51 Tuckers were built. That is not true.
And the frame, which we'll talk about more in a little while, being thickened, and the finished project will have virtually 100% Tucker, original Tucker manufactured parts. There's really no reason, in your opinion or mine, really, that it could be deemed a would've, could've, should've car.
Yeah. I have been asked many times through the years, whenever there was a Tucker convention, to bring 57 for them to examine. And I, in turn, would invite whoever wanted to come and look at the car, examine it, crawl underneath it, do whatever they want, to the club members. No response. It never materialized. So I don't understand why they will acknowledge that 51 Tuckers, were built, counting the 14 that were sold at the auction by various people, but they won't acknowledge this car as, an original Tucker, even if it's a started project that wasn't completed. And because I spent good 28 years trying to complete the project, it's any different than the other 14.
I agree. And do you recall approximately how many times you invited them to your place?
Oh, geez. Many, many times. The last time I received a letter, they were having a convention at the Volo Museum, which was less than 45 minutes away from my home in Illinois, on Highway 120 and 31. I invited whoever wanted to come and examine the car, get a committee together, do whatever you need to do, and again, no response.
Okay. I'll go ahead and read this this quote from the Tucker website, and then after I get done, maybe you could just comment on it. In 1973, Richard Jones had verified that there were 58 Tucker bodies manufactured by the factory. In the owner's directory, he correctly stated that Tremulous had worked on 57. The extent of what was done to this car was only known to the few who had been involved in this experimental, off-the-books and off-site project at Linky Engineering. Number 57 was indeed a sedan when first made. Preston knew that Linky could handle the unique requirements of a convertible, so over to Linky shops it went. Herman Ringling did the bodywork, making 52-inch long doors, installing a new windshield frame and header, and extending the quarter panels. Joe Linky supervised the box frame change from 18 gauge to 10 gauge steel. He also designed the tubular reinforcement for the car. When funds dried up after the SEC did its thing to Tucker, the project was abandoned and moved off Linky's premises. One of his staff was given possession, and other than another change of ownership to another Linky employee in the 70s, the partially completed car was in storage under canvas. In 1985, this was verified by Joe Linky and Tucker's experimental division chief, Robert McClellan. Linky's set of original working sketches were viewed at that time, but not available for purchase. Linky and Tucker worked together before on the Tin Goose and earlier on a Ford project for Indy race cars in the 30s. Although the Tin Goose had a lot of lead, all production cars did, as they were hand-built and each car was unique in its fit and finish. The convertible windshield is 4 inches lower than the sedan and was being fitted to use a large GM convertible top. 57 is stamped into the firewall, and the data plate is not yet filled in.
Okay. Number 57 started life as a four-door sedan. All the bodies were stamped. When number 57 went into the experimental department, and they cut the roof off the car, and the frame flexed on them, the engineering department come up with a heavy-duty chassis frame, double the thickness of the original frame, 16 gauge, 18 gauge. The cowl was taken off of the 57, the original chassis, which was a four-door, and put onto the heavier frame. And again, the doors were lengthened, and that's about as far as they got. The header bowl was made. The top assembly was there, the rear quarters were there, and so on. I had a chance to interview Joel Lanke at a race car convention in Illinois, and he gave me information in regards to the car, leaving the experimental department and going to Lanke, and his people worked on it again with Tucker employees until they ran out of money. And the car, when I found the car, it was basically a bare frame. The cowl, the two doors, two rear quarter panels, the top bows, and the header bow. That was it. And it had number 57 stamped into the cowl.